With the international break underway, it is time to discuss England. Now, following a disappointing draw to Ukraine, a 1-1 draw, today we are discussing what England need to actually have a chance of winning the Euros. Because at the minute, many people are saying maybe we don't have a chance. Roll the intro. Hello and welcome back to the Lost in Possession podcast. First things first, do us a quick favor, hit that subscribe button, absolutely free, and it takes 2 seconds to do so. Today, our debate during international break, it is all about England. Now, as I said, the underwhelming 1-1 draw against Ukraine the other day has left people asking the question once again, is Southgate the right man to lead England into the Euros next year? Or more importantly, what do we currently need to take England to that next level and finally get a proper win? Jamie, let's kick things off with you. Obviously, we'll discuss many points about England right here, but if you had to pick one right now, what is it we need to sort out before the Euros in a year's time?
Probably Southgate. I wouldn't say I'm his biggest fan at all. He has done well, considering if you compare him to other managers, but he's probably, it's like the guy who's not ready. He's not the one to take to the final step. I think that's the main cause of it. I think he does well in terms of coaching the team and sort of bringing, a squad together that actually get on. Whereas you've had what was called the golden generation, didn't like each other due to the club sort of situation. So he stops that happening. But in terms of the managerial aspect, I think he's lacking. Probably is why. Yeah, I think he can be the issue why we don't win the tournament.
Yeah, Reece, where do you stand on Southgate, I guess, as a starting point?
Um, yeah, I mean, I've never thought he'd be the man to win a trophy with England, but I thought, he's probably the best we've had for a very long time. I thought he was the right appointment at the time. I don't. Yes, I think tactically he's questionable. Some of the things he does, some of the decisions he makes, but I would argue that this is England's to lose Euro 2024. Let's be honest, we're going to qualify from the group. I think this is England's to lose, and I think it is now or never for him and England.
Yeah, I think the thing is, there's 2 points to it, and with Southgate in particular, he has done better. And the argument for him, he has done better than anyone. He's got us closer than anyone's got us for a very long time. And it's tough because it's obviously I know how this is how football works, but it was a penalty shootout away from winning the Euros. Like when it gets to penalties, and it is essentially the age old, cliche of it's a coin flip. I don't know. Can you hold losing the coin flip against him? Because if he'd gone and won that, do you know what I mean? If in a
It's not
50-50,
that losing on penalties, you can't really blame anyone. Although he did bring two people on to take penalties and they both missed. Like he brought them on just before the penalty shootout was happening. So that's something that can go against him for it. But normally, no, you can't blame the manager for losing a penalty shootout. And also the same really with the World Cup, Kane missing a penalty. So it is penalties that have, put a bit of a downfall on him. But if you look at the Italy one, really at home as well, that's what makes it even bigger. People, you got to remember we're actually at home. It's a Euros final where you're in a different country normally. So you're at home, you should be winning that. That Italy side wasn't one of their great sides. They were on a very good run of not losing, but they still weren't, world beaters. Like they weren't expecting to go into the World Cup and having a good one. They didn't qualify. That kind of sums it up. So that's where it's sort of maybe not the penalty aspect, but we probably should be beating them before that.
yeah, and I think that's the point, isn't it? Because I remember we were playing well, looking good, and we sort of took our foot off the gas. It felt like,
Once we scored,
yeah, and I guess you have got to blame that on the manager because I know we're talking about an old game, but these are the fine margins that win and lose. And I think the problem with Southgate is because he doesn't have that track history of managerial success. Let's say, I know we've sort of jokingly said it would be great for England, but let's say it was like Pep or Jose Mourinho, whatever. So one of these coaches who just knows one trophy after trophy after trophy. When they do something questionably tactically, you kind of go, oh, it's Pep, and he kind of gets away with it because of his previous success.
But I don't think he does, if that makes sense, because he got like Pep did that sort of change, and we lost to Chelsea in the Champions League final, and City fans still was like he was wrong. The media, so I think every manager, no matter what you make of it, does get the blame. So I don't think they actually do get the hook. But with the Peps, with what Mourinho was doing in the past, well, actually still at Roma winning, like getting to finals and winning stuff. With them, it's still they've got the track record of winning it, and it's more like you can't win everything, but you do win stuff. And he's now not winning. He's still not winning stuff, and he's not got a record of winning stuff. So that's just I think it's hard because you have to win. You got to do it your first time at one point, but as international, there's so little chances to win it. You can't be taking that risk. Whereas it's different for club football where it's every single season and there's 4 trophies on the line.
Yeah, I think it's a tough one. And I for me personally, if I had to make a decision, I'd say I think he's earned one more go. And I do think there's an argument to say if he doesn't win the Euros again, we said it with the World Cup, didn't we? Sounds ridiculous, but if he doesn't win the World Cup or he doesn't win the Euros, he's got to go. But sadly, that I feel like that's where we're at with this squad, because we'll get onto it now in the next conversation, but this is potentially one. Well, it's not potentially. It is one of the best squads in the world. So I don't understand why. I don't understand why we're not getting over that line. And naturally, people are going to point to Southgate and say he's the reason.
Yeah, I mean, while Southgate knocks at Jamie's door to try and disagree with him there, I think he's a good coach. I think international level, you can afford to be a good coach, and you do need to be a manager. Yes, he's made some questionable things, and yes, everyone says you have to win the Euros to, justify it. But isn't that the same with club football? You have to show some form of progress, right? In international football, you can't keep going, oh, well, we got out of the group stage every year, or we got to the quarterfinals. Realistically, this is one of the questions of when Roberto Martinez was at Belgium, right? Never got through despite that golden generation, never actually achieved anything. Golden generations don't always tend to achieve anything, but sometimes you've got to see some sort of progress. We've seen the best progress we've seen here. We saw it with that German team that won the World Cup. We saw it with the French team that won the World Cup. The Argentinians. There's got to be signs of progress, and there is progress here. The Ukraine result doesn't matter. Realistically, it's just a 1-1 draw. As long as they go and win the others. Yes, Scotland. I know it's a friendly or whatever is going to be a big game. That'll be an interesting test for Southgate, because it's a matter of how can you handle these situations, even if you consider it a friendly. I think for him, yeah, this is his last chance, and then that team will never win anything if they don't win this Euros. I mean, the rest of the countries in it, they're pretty poor. Germany are all over the place. They've just sacked Flick. Spain are not what they were. They're not producing the players anymore. France have a good tournament, then they have an absolute, then they self-implode. They had a good tournament in the World Cup, so they're probably due to implode in this one. Italy are not what they were. Most of these nation teams, we are the best nation team in Europe at this moment in time. With the consistency we've got and the trajectory we've taken, we're much better than most of those teams. It's just whether we can handle the big occasion.
Yeah.
I think probably I'd probably say France are. I get your point on sort of them imploding on them having a good tournament and a bad tournament.
But they're the big.
I get that point, but I think
it.
they're the best. They're the best team overall, if that makes sense.
They'll be confident. There'll be a different confidence to England, as in they know they'll win it. If that makes sense. I think England have more hope to win it.
But then you've also got, I think, with Germany, you've got to also take in they've got the home advantage in the Euros as well. Now they've sacked Flick, but that means they're in their bad spell there's still time to turn it around. Like they've got a whole season, pretty much the rest of the season to turn it around. It's not a lot in international football, but I still feel if they get in a good coach manager, then that can still be fine for them. It's not the teams of the ones that won the World Cup. Don't get me wrong, but I still feel like they're good enough and at home advantage to be a team to challenge. It's yes, but I probably would say we're second behind France, but we're not winning anything at the moment. So it's like it's one of them where you've just you have to get over that line, and unfortunately, it's coming time and time again where we don't, and you can't get rid of the internationals and just buy new players. You can't do a Chelsea, spend $1 billion on them. It's who's your what nationality are you? That's the only way it works. But I think we need to get into the squad as well. Like it's not all Southgate. Like I'm not saying he's fully the reason why. But then if you look into the squad, I think I'll name you 2 names and this can sort of sum up Southgate, Maguire and Phillips. Why are they in the squad? Like Phillips, I think even more than Maguire. He's not even a sub option really for Pep. At the moment, his career at City is coming on in the 90th minute to waste a little bit of time when we're 3-4-0 up. Like not even a 2-1 and come on and shore things up. No, it's not even that. So I don't see how he gets into the squad, to be perfectly honest. And then Maguire, yeah, go on.
No, go on. I was going to say it is a strange one, isn't it? I think because he gave it a thing about he'll pick players on merit, and then obviously he's picking players that don't even play.
Yeah.
Teams, but realistically, yes, they've done the job. So I'm not going to be critical of him in a sense. I'll be critical if we don't actually go on to win the Euros and he plays those players, because you do have to think like, well, come on. But like, I know you're going to mention Maguire, but it'd be interesting. He does the job for England, but I just think realistically, who would we say is a better person in his position? It for the England team at the moment who has delivered like that?
Well, no one's. I don't think anyone's really been given the chance to.
Yeah.
In that centre back, because I don't think it's just my bias, but City, it's Stones is the centre back. Stones should be the number 1 centre back for England, and then it's picking who his partner is. And it's been Maguire for the past few tournaments, and I think he's been. I think I have said this to you both. He hasn't been as good, but people see him score the header, so then his ratings for England went from like a 6.5 to like a 7.5 because he's got that goal. So that's where I feel like it's been not overshadowed because he has still done well, but I think it's been looked like this is probably why he got the 80 million price tag at Leicester, because he did well for England getting them goals and he looks like the hero. He looks like he's keeping the clean sheets and getting the goals.
I think he was a good defender though. I think like obviously he's not had the best time at United, but a lot of it has also been him being an absolute scapegoat for everything.
Yeah,
but he has also been awful.
Yeah. But he's not been. It's going to sound weird, but he's not been as bad as people have made him out to be.
No, he hasn't. No,
He's been overhyped completely.
This is where things come into. I think one, we do need a better defense for England. Realistically, I mean, he's done well for us, but come on, your number 1 goalkeeper shouldn't be playing for a team struggling with relegation. Look across Europe; all their goalkeepers are much better. But on club level, I think Maguire is let down a lot by having a poor midfield in front of him. I do think at England, he's got that midfield in front of him that'll protect him. And let's be honest, Rice and Bellingham are going to be key, I think, to England's achievements, as well as Harry Kane. I think they're going to be the 3 players that can deliver. So the defence probably can afford to be a little bit weaker.
I don't think the midfield is weak at all. I think the issue for me, going back to Maguire step, is although like he's one of the boys, obviously they get on well with him and they've had a history of success. And maybe that's why Southgate picks him. Sometimes you need these players. But when Maguire's getting absolutely rinsed every single time he plays, and you're, again, Stones and Maguire, probably mates, probably get on really well. But when you've got 10 other players on that pitch, in their heads, if Maguire's been as bad as he's been for 2-3 years, and you're there in a semi-final, whatever, against France, there is I don't care what anyone says, there is a little bit of doubt in those players' minds about his ability as a defender, and that does knock your confidence. You've got to be able to beat, the France is the Argentines, whatever. You can tell they've got that confidence and arrogance about them where they believe in every single player on the pitch. And having a gaping hole like Maguire in the team, despite what he's done for England, I just don't think that's. We're not going to win the Euros with Maguire centre back based on his form for like the last 2 years. I just don't see it.
No, as controversial as this though, I think Maguire has actually put up with a lot of this stick, and I think he's handled it quite nicely, quite elegantly. I think his mentality is better than. I know he's a different position, but I think he's got a better mentality than Saka. Saka, the guy who missed the penalty in the league at West Ham and then disappeared towards the end of the season, and yes, it was unfortunate he missed the penalty in the Euros, but I think he does more of a disappearing act when it matters. I think Maguire has a better mentality, and yes, he's got a mistake in him, but I think I would look to him to pick me up off my feet, so to speak, even though he might not have the quality into what Saka would have.
But let's sort of move on from talking about Maguire then. I think we're probably unanimous thinking Maguire probably shouldn't be starting for England. Who's his replacement? Who comes in? Because you had Gay play last against Ukraine. You then had on the bench, you had Colwill, Tomori, Dunk, all three centre halves. They were on the bench. So it's kind of picking out of them, but none of them effectively are world beaters in a way. I know you really liked Colwill, Jordan. I know you'll rave on about him, but at the moment in his career, he's not at the top level.
No, he's not ready yet.
This is what
experience at a level.
Yeah, I'm not saying he won't. I'm not saying he won't be, but at the moment, we're talking about the end of this season, so it's kind of like it's got to come quick.
Yeah, the gap is too wide, isn't it? I think Tomori's not been himself since Milan. I think he's been shown to realise why Lampard got rid of him in the end.
I think he did well for like a good 6 months or something like that, and then he's dropped off a bit.
Exactly. Yeah. I think Dunk is probably the more deserving in that position because let's be honest, he's performed in a consistent Brighton side. But realistically, I wouldn't say he's better suited to that style Southgate plays. Maguire is probably better suited to that.
But what do you mean? What do you mean exactly though by the style? Because he can definitely play out from the back.
I don't know. I do think Maguire is a better player than Dunk. I do.
Overall, yeah, he probably is. But I think at the moment you've got to go. I think if you go off like form,
if you're going on merit like you're supposed to, then yeah, Dunk should be playing ahead of him.
Yeah.
But realistically, if I put it in terms of quality, I wouldn't say. I think Maguire is probably lucky that the defenders behind him in the line are not as good, and that's not being harsh. That is the reality of it,
And I think the only other one to mention is Ben White, who's not been in the squads after he had to withdraw.
Yeah, he's probably finished with England. If not, he might play back. But while
Southgate's there, he's probably finished. Would you? Do you think?
There's opportunity for him, but I just think that if they're going to play him, they'll play him at right back, and I think the right back options are already better.
There's no chance in hell, in absolute hell, Ben White will ever play right back for England.
Well, I've seen Arsenal fan TV saying he should be playing, or it was, I think they agreed with someone. So I think someone on that TalkSport said, his sort of chemistry link with Saka means he should be playing right back for England.
Absolutely.
It's not FIFA.
That is
it's
honestly
not FIFA. Stop talking about
this isn't chemistry. Let's not be ridiculous. Yeah.
I think then probably the next position, and I think if we move up the pitch, is that third. I presume England will play probably a more 4-3-3 as the sort of formation. I know they kind of tried it was kind of like a 3-5-2 against Ukraine with Chilwell playing the sort of left mid, but that's just how far forward he gets, really. But I think the third centre mid position, because at the moment I think Rice and Bellingham are guaranteed to be playing. So it's that third centre mid position. And this is where I find it quite interesting, because I don't know what Southgate's going to do, because he picked Henderson there for the Ukraine game. But should Henderson be starting? Over, you can play what Maddison plays there for Spurs. Foden's now getting a bit of a roaming role, which could fit into that. Grealish can do that. Gallagher came on. Sort of, there are plenty of players who can do that. I understand Henderson being in the squad. Yeah. I don't see him being in the starting 11.
Yeah, I think Henderson is it's an example of a tried and tested method for Southgate. Yeah. But I would agree. I think Maddison has a great opportunity to stake his claim, and then you can move Rice more into Henderson's position probably. You got Bellingham obviously in midfield. You might even want to move Trent into midfield if he goes for that.
I don't think you need to though.
No, he doesn't.
I'm not convinced by the Trent centre mid.
But if you wanted to change things up, but I think it's Maddison's chance to really stake his claim here. I think if he has a consistent season, so to speak, I think he would probably get a chance to start above Grealish and Foden, because he will play more for Spurs. I think Foden and Grealish are more likely to be rotated. So I think,
especially in the midfield, in that third centre mid role, that's Maddison's position at Spurs. That's not technically Foden's position. That's not technically Grealish's position. So yeah, I fully agree with that. In terms of he can make that his own. But is Southgate going to just go, well done, you can be in the squad, but Henderson's going to start?
No, I think to our point and to the title of the thumbnail, this is where we need to actually make some serious change. Because as good as Henderson is, we know he's getting on. He's gone to Saudi. That's him accepting he's past his peak. I don't care what anyone says.
It's not for the money, don't worry.
Not for the money. Yeah, all of that stuff. The talent, again, we've got in this third role, it has to be Rice for that defensive cover, because we've not got a CDM as good as him, and Phillips isn't going to get there in a year. Bellingham, obviously, assuming he's fit, the form he's in at the minute, I don't see him dropping off that. He has to start. But I do agree. I think I'd say there's probably 3 players who can get in that sort of cam role, and all of them are better than Henderson, in my opinion, in terms of option, pace, energy. And I think Maddison, you've covered. The form he's on at the minute, if he does this for Spurs for a year, he's in that team, no question. Like 100%. But again, it's context, like 3-4 games. We've got to remember that. I personally would love to see Foden in that, again, he's only done it for a few games, but in that free form role, whatever you can call it, just floating about, because he could cause a lot of problems for defenses. The issue is the striker the right fit? It works with Haaland, but I don't think Kane's that guy. That sort of running behind.
Foden doesn't. Foden, I think at the moment is learning to play to Haaland for City, because actually Foden wants to. If you saw, I think a good example is the Champions League final, where he got the ball turned, which this is what Phil Foden does, and then he wants to run, and then he either takes the shot or he squares it, and that's where Kane will be. But it's a bit different with City. City are like, no, instead of making that run for the shot, you play the ball to Haaland, he shoots. So that could be something that sort of does go against, because they're different players, but I do get what you mean by it's a bit different between Haaland and Kane. But I feel like Foden might actually enjoy it a bit more, being able to make that extra dribble and then play it across.
Yeah, I think Kane would have to be told almost to not drop deep, because he loves doing that. But I think if Foden's in there, you don't need Kane dropping deep. Kane needs to be making those runs staying forward. And will he do that? I think that's the only debate with that.
I think he has to.
Would you say that one of Southgate's biggest problems is there is too much quality to choose from, particularly in that midfield position? Everyone says you can never have enough quality, but I think these are players that are all very, very similar to each other, and I think that causes a headache, because it's like, well, at club level it's different because you can play differently, but I think there is a bit too much quality sometimes, hence why it's a bit difficult to get the tactics right and fit the right players in.
So this is where I don't think he can actually win because he's got to leave someone out. You can't play all your attackers. So this is where he'll drop Foden. He'll play, let's say, he'll play Grealish on the left, Maddison in the middle, Saka on the right, Kane up front, Bellingham, Rice. Very good team, sort of on paper. We don't win. He'll be like, well, why didn't you play Foden? But then if he plays Foden, doesn't play Maddison, same thing happened. Why didn't you play Maddison? He can't win in that aspect, but that's what you got. That's unfortunately, as a football manager, you've got to deal with that.
Yeah, and to
that's
that point,
it's a luxury more than a negative.
Yeah, and even in that, we're trying to debate it between two or three. You've also, in terms of who's not in the squad, you've got Mount in that position as well. You've got Eze coming through and pressing. You've got potentially Gallagher. There is a lot of. It is tough being Southgate. Like, obviously, it's a privileged position to have that choice, but it is hard. And you're right.
But that's when you're talking. We're talking about winning the tournament, so you've got to have these players.
Yeah, true.
Kind of thing. So if you don't have them, then we wouldn't be talking about winning. We'd be like, can we get to the quarterfinals? Kind of thing. That's
Yeah, this is it. It's like, I think as well, Southgate shouldn't be afraid to be ruthless. If everyone goes, oh, why are you not playing him? Why are you not playing him? But I look at some of the best international teams, and I look at how they could leave a whole starting 11 at home because they have that system that works. Be in that position to be like, well, no, I've got good players. I think I remember England particularly, all you had to do was turn up, and be named on the subs bench and you'd get a cap. We were giving them out like they were going out of sweet, get out of fashion. No disrespect to Ricky Lambert. I really liked him, but he was getting it. Would he have ever got a call up by Germany or peak Spain? Not a chance. So let's be real. It's good to be in that position where now it's like, you don't just get a cap here. You really have to be good.
But I guess with that sort of, just to go with a slight argument of that, is Lambert got in because he was actually on really good form. And that's what we're kind of saying against the likes of Maguire and things like that.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying though. He's not probably the standard you want to be winning tournaments. He's not.
No, and I just don't want to disrespect. I don't want to disrespect Lambert. I'm sure, I did like him as a player, and I'm sure he's listening, obviously. but it was like, I felt like we were just giving them out. Oh, you can have a cap. You can have a cap. Oh, I see you've been signed by Arsenal, like Theo Walcott going to the World Cup. Never played a game for Arsenal at that stage.
Yeah.
Why not go? I'd like to see the ruthlessness to be like, yeah, look, we've got two treble winners in our team at the moment. None of them are getting in because the players we've got are performing consistently better. Yes, that goes back to the whole, well, but why is he playing Maguire? Germany had Jonas Hector as their left back, and he was playing in the second division with Cologne. He did a job for Germany. So again, he can't win, Gareth Southgate, but we should be blessed that we're in a position where we can actually be ruthless with the team selection.
Yeah, but it's right. Form sometimes is crucial, because touching on what I said earlier about the Maguire, the sort of lack of confidence, you would probably as a player just rather see, it doesn't have to be a centre-back, but a centre-back who's had a breakout season or has been outstanding, won a trophy, not even trophies, like, awards or whatever. Players who have had phenomenal seasons, because you're going to have more confidence in them performing on the big stage. So I do think, again, you've got to throw some of these young guys in now, give them a chance to do anything. Because Gerhi, he played one game.
You can do that against Scotland, can't you?
Yeah,
it's a friendly.
Yeah, and I hope he does. But you got to give him games now. Like, we can't be having this debate where there's not that many international games left. Although we've got a year, there's not going to be loads left. So you've got to get him in there now. If Maguire's out of form, drop him. Again, going on Maguire, but if they're not in form, get him out of the squad, give someone a go.
I think it's more like if you're in awful bad form, you should be dropped. But it's more like, let's say Kane doesn't score for Bayern for 5-6 games. That doesn't mean drop him, because you don't. Like, I'm not talking about his performance there. It's just not got the goals. And then let's say Wilson's banging in for Newcastle. It's not naturally get him out, get him in. But Maguire's form's been bad for so long. That's, I think, the main concern. And then Phillips doesn't actually have any form. He's got no form at all. So that's where I feel like you got them in position. I think lastly, which is a different type of topic, is the left wing position. So I don't think Southgate knows who he's playing there. And I think the three main contenders for me, but he played Maddison as well, left wing, or it sort of showed on the sort of formation was Maddison. But then you got Rashford there, Grealish, and Foden can all play there. Now you got Grealish, who's stapled that for City ahead of Foden, being honest, and won the treble. You got Rashford, who is much more of a goal threat than the other three. So that one I think is the final sort of that one you can mix around, and he will mix around. But that I think is going to be a massively key decision to get right in the tournament for us to go and win it.
Who would you play there in that left wing position?
Depends who we're playing against, because if you've got a team that's going to sort of high press, I can't give you examples. I can't say I know too much about it. But actually, I think like a Spain, I'd actually play Rashford. He's got that pace to get in behind them because they're going to want to dominate the ball. And when we get it, we want to counter-attack. But if we're going to control the game, like we will for a lot of them, Grealish is probably a better position to have that ball. He'll take on a player, he'll draw fouls, and he'll cause problems. But I think Foden should play in the middle for England. Whether it's Maddison or Foden, it's sort of like them two can battle it out. But that's where I think Foden should play. So it should really be Grealish and Rashford in them sort of positions. Just depends on who we're against. And both of them, I think, can do a job coming off the bench. So if you pick one, it's not working, the other can come on. So that would be who I'd go with.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that, to be honest. I'm just trying to think if there's anyone else that could find their way or fight their way into contention for that position, but I think it's going to be tough. Not on the left, probably unlikely, I'd say, on the left. You've obviously got Sterling as well. You can go left or right. I'd say he's more contention for right with Saka.
He's got to try and get in the squad, to be fair.
Yeah. And there's some of these players could just completely go out of form and not make it.
Yeah.
But I feel like for that role, most of the ones who said would make the cut if they're fit. But to be honest, no, I think I agree pretty much what you said. Rashford, based on last season at least, is way more likely to score a goal than Grealish. But Grealish will win you 10 fouls a game, 10 free kicks a game in a dangerous position that we can then score headers from. So, yeah, I think there's an argument for both, to be honest. But just on Foden, I like the idea of Foden in that CAM middle role. Reese, you got to pick one now as well.
I agree with Jamie, actually. I think Rashford, put him against those teams where you know you'll be able to attack. But I think when you're coming against the teams with that more tactical sort of approach, the Italians, I think Grealish might be a little bit more beneficial there.
All right. And I guess finally we've got a couple of minutes left. We might as well. It's a year too early, but right now, all factors considered, all players who aren't in the squad being fit, who would your starting lineup be? Jamie, no pressure, but we'll come to you first.
I'd stick with Pickford in goal. I do agree with Reese's point, but I've kind of just said he's done very well for England. He doesn't deserve to be dropped. Walker, Stones. I'm probably going to go with Dunk at the moment. Left back. I'm actually struggling because Shaw seems to do better in England's system, but I prefer Chilwell overall. But at the moment, Shaw's injured, so we'll go Chilwell. Rice, Bellingham. I want Foden. On the right, Saka. Up front, Kane. And on the left, like I said, depends on the team, but let's say Grealish. I'll stick with my City bias.
Reese?
Yeah, pretty similar, I think. I think you have to go for Pickford. I think, yes, he's got a calamity in him, but he is probably...
I think they all do.
Style of play.
Yeah.
He's better for the style of play, I think. Similar with pretty much a defence. I would put Maguire over Dunk. It's a shame you can't sort of encourage maybe Chris Smalling out of retirement to do a job, but Southgate clearly doesn't like him, so that's why he doesn't play for England. Yeah, I agree. I think Shaw does well. Maybe Chilwell instead. I'd have Reece James at right back any day of the week. Bellingham, Rice, midfield, along with, got to say, Henderson or Maddison, one of the two there. Rashford on the left, Foden centre attack. Saka has to be on the right, and I probably would take him off towards the end of the game. So I just don't think he's got the mentality for the big moment like that at times. And Kane has to be up front. I don't think.
I think you might have picked 12 there.
Well, we need.
I was going to
12.
say, if you added an extra one in,
I think you got an extra
I've
position.
rotated around, haven't I? So I've just said I'd have him or whatever. So,
all right, I'll try and pick 11. Pickford in goal. Agree. I don't think. Maybe you can make a case for Ramsdale, Reece. I know you'll disagree.
No.
That says a lot when you're picking current Pickford, considering his form. But I'll stay loyal to Pickford. Right back, assuming he's fit, which will probably not happen. I'd say Reece James. Stones, and for me, I'd still go with Tomori. More pace than Dunk. Stones hasn't got a load of pace as well. You need someone pacey in there. So Tomori, Stone centre back, Chilwell left back. He's better than Shaw. That's not
Actually,
even.
You're so attacking left and right back with a 4 at the back. But
yeah,
continue.
They'll go forward.
Bias.
Huh?
The Chelsea bias coming in here.
No, who?
Tammy Abraham up front. He's probably got him in there.
Listen. There's absolutely no Chelsea bias there.
Wait for the
No
midfield,
Chelsea bias. Reece James I don't even need to debate on him. And Chilwell's better than Shaw. I said it years ago, and I stand by my point. Midfield, Rice, Bellingham, and then Foden in that centre role. Up front, obviously Kane, Saka on the right, and I'd probably say Grealish on the left at the minute. Boom. That is a Euros winning side right there.
In a way, other than France, it is ours to lose.
Yeah, I think we need to be getting to the final. Like, I know that sounds a lot of pressure, but we've got the squad to do it. Have we got the managers to do it? That is the question. We will find out. That wraps us up for another episode. As always, let us know your thoughts in the comments. What would your starting lineup be? Let us know. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. You know the drill.